The Egyptian civilization was one of the greatest African civilizations that existed 5,000 years ago, and the Nile River was the center of this civilization, and because of the presence of a large area of fertile land on the Nile River, this let farmers grow different crops, so the Nile River was not just an ordinary river for the Egyptians, this was also used to move around and transport goods. The ancient Egyptians were known for building the giant pyramids that they used to bury their pharaohs. The ancient Egyptians used to worship many forms of different deities, which were made of statues made, and the Egyptians worshipped God in the hope that he would send them a large amount of good crops, and one of the most important deities was the sun god. The Egyptians believed that there is life after death, and for that reason, they used to mourn their dead in order to protect them from analysis, and that the body would prefer to maintain its shape in life after death. They also used to put clothes, food, and jewelry that they used before death together in the grave, assuming that this means that he will need them in his life after death. The ancient Egyptians were very interested in agriculture, despite the lack of rain, but they relied heavily on the Nile River, and among the most important agricultural crops were wheat and barley, and Egypt was famous for having many makers of jewelry, furniture, fabrics, bricks, and pottery, so Egypt was famous for importing goods that are not available. It contains gold, silver, leather, spices, and wood. The education of the ancient Egyptians was not available to anyone. It was only for the people of the high class, and they were the rich, so they used to study writing, reading, and mathematics, so most of the boys learned agriculture and different crafts, and the majority of girls learned different household chores from their mothers, so the ancient Egyptian writing was about complex shapes and drawings that developed with time. Symbols remained, and they were used in religious writings or writing on buildings because of their difficulty. The pharaonic civilization arose in ancient Egypt in northeastern Africa since the year 4000 BC, where the Egyptian society was formed from three hierarchical levels, namely, the gods, the king, and the dead. The ancient Egyptians sanctified and blessed the dead, and offered them offerings and sacrifices. The Egyptians also called their kings the title of the pharaohs, and the king used to marry a queen and several minor wives, and the rule among the Egyptians was to inherit the king through divine gifts, or to hand it over from parents to children, and it is indicated that the king's receipt of the sons of queens is more compared to the children of other wives.